Hey friends, it's Andy with the Reverb Tone Report, and today I'd like to share some sounds from the H90 by Eventide. This one is all about dual algorithms. So in the past you've had the H9 with its one powerful algorithm that could really hold its own. Now you can stack them in a variety of ways and just open up a whole different world. I'm going to show you a little bit of the specs, but I don't want to overload you, so let's go over that quickly for a minute and then I'll get into the sounds. The H90 Harmonizer picks up where the H9 Max leaves off, by giving you every classic Eventide algorithm, plus 10 more, including next-gen polyphonic pitch shifting, new vintage bass delays, and the legendary instant phaser and flanger, which have previously only lived in rack and plug-in formats. The H90's key feature is its ability to play two algorithms simultaneously, and you can route them in series or parallel. When it comes to routing, the back panel is ready for the road or the studio with 4 inputs and outputs that can either be mono or stereo and instrument or line level. Now you can route up to 2 effects inserts before, after, or in a variety of spots in the pedal's internal signal chain, or easily integrate the H90 into your studio and send multiple signals from your DAW to get the Eventide treatment. Plus you get lots of external control via MIDI, 2 expression pedals, or even external foot switches with up to 3 buttons to access parameter changes or presets remotely. Finally, with the H90 connected to your computer via USB, you could use the Control app to organize programs, create presets, and tweak all your settings to your liking with an easy-to-use interface. For more information on the Eventide H90 Harmonizer, check it out right now on Reverb. So I've dialed up the first program here, which contains 2 of those presets, and of course you have different algorithms in each preset. Now on A, we have a tape echo. It was originally a digital delay, and on the B side we have the blackhole reverb, which I haven't really tweaked much yet. So I want to show you just how I changed that preset. You just hit the presets button. So I've just narrowed it down by delay. You could filter different categories here. You could change the algorithms that you want to look into specifically, but let's get back to that tape echo and see some of the parameters we can tweak. And we're still hearing the tails of that black hole, so an easy way to just bypass that is I could go over to perform mode, and you'll see these boxes up here in white, and I could just bypass each effect. Or you could change the filter, which is what's making it sound dark. And as you can imagine with tape echo, we have all that control over wow and flutter. To get into the other parameters, you could just use that select knob. More feedback. We have different controls here with these 3 black knobs below the screen. You could change those to be whatever you want, but you see the first one says P mix, that's program mix, so you're controlling the mix of the tape delay and the black hole in this case. Here's one that uses that new polyphonic mode, and it's really great at getting some classic 12-string sounds. Of course, you have full control over the amount of detunes, so you can kind of get it sounding like an old rusty 12-string or something nice and pure. Now, this is mixed with a plate reverb. So as you can tell, that's a real nice, clean, polyphonic 12-string sound. Of course, you could change the detune and the interval for that matter. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a taste of that one because it really is a very tight sound. There's not a lot of latency. That being said, you could actually change the amount of delay within that algorithm and get a kind of delayed pitch shifted sound. And of course, mix that with another algorithm, even another delay. And when it comes to algorithms, I think one of the hardest things to nail down is a very convincing overdrive, and Eventide has done it with their new Weed Whacker. And they've had some dirty ones in the past with the Crustacean, but I think the Weed Whacker really fills a void because it gives you that kind of mild overdrive sound that you could just mix in with any of these algorithms. So here's one. It was a program 11 that I kind of tweaked already, and it's a Weed Whacker mixed with some doubling effects with the micro pitch. The Weed Whacker is actually like two Screamer-style overdrives in series, and you have full control over their tone, and even a noise gate built in for when you're stacking those different gain stages. Now let's talk about perform mode a little bit, and this is a great way to just expand on the functionality, especially if you're using the H90 Live. You could really take advantage of those 3 foot switches on the bottom and assign them to different parameter changes, momentary or latching. Now in this Twisted Echo program, we have something that's going to get us very close to a classic space echo when you crank up the feedback and you turn the delay time at the same time. Now this has already been assigned to the hot switch on the left side, so it's no longer the bypass when you hit the perform button. Of course, you could change those foot switches to do anything you want. If you go back to the first page on the perform, we could activate each individual effect. Turn off the reverb there. So simple stuff like that, and now you can see that the left foot switch is now your tap tempo. This is just an easy way to get into those programs and presets rather than just kind of selecting through different programs on the fly. Let's get a bit dirty. So I've got these humbuckers here, and I'm going to be showing you the new Even Vibe paired up with the Crustacean, and that's in program 18, but we're going to dive in and change some parameters specifically with the Vibe because I want to show you how you could crank up the mix and get those classic, warbly, pitch affecting vibrato sounds as well as the classic chorus sound of a Univibe. Now, one of the things I haven't seen too many other demos mention is the instant flanger and instant phaser. Now, these were groundbreaking rack effects units in the early 70s. You know, the phaser is one of my favorites because it's all over Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti. You know, it's on the drums in Kashmir, it's all over In My Time of Dying and some other ones. You hear this kind of bubbly quality, and that's because there's an envelope mode in the instant phaser as well as the flanger. And when you play hard, it kind of just gives a little bit more. It goes through the whole sweep. So it's that touch-sensitive phaser that I was talking about, kind of gives you that bubbly quality depending on the input signal here. You could also mix that envelope with the LFO and to kind of keep it moving, but also get that dynamic nature. Let's dive a bit deeper into that instant flanger. Now, the key here is really setting up the threshold to match the your picking strength and the output of your pickups. These are very hot single coils, so I've just dialed into the parameters button on the instant flanger, and you can tell when I lower the threshold, it gets very sensitive, and you can kind of just find the sweet spot. It's kind of more of a splatty sound the more you kind of crunch it. So that flanger really fades in kind of slowly, and this is a cool effect when you mix it with some delay. And you know, Eventide's algorithms really have just stood the test of time on their own. Now we can combine them, and it's not just series. We have some different routing options. You could do parallel. You could also put other effects in other spots in the chain and have them be series or parallel. So if you have a H90 at the end of the board and you have a delay and a reverb, but you want to say inject some dirt or modulation in between there, that's where the insert can come into play. Now let's try some different series and parallel options. I've got Stargazers here, which is a cool mix of pitch shifted delay and shimmer reverb. Now let's route these two algorithms in series and see how it affects the sound and the way they bloom. So that right there is a great lesson on series versus parallel. The series just took longer to bloom, but was a lot more intense and a lot more sustained. So without even changing any other parameters on the delays and reverbs we have here, it just gives us a whole different effect. So definitely check out the routing in the H90. Well, that's the H90 from Eventide. As you can tell, we just scratched the surface, but there's a whole lot of possibilities here when you start stacking these algorithms and playing with the routing and also taking advantage of all the extra control you have at your feet. You could check it out right here on Reverb. Thanks for watching. It's been a lot of fun showing you this, and I'll see you next time.